Alright guys, how's it going? Thanks for tuning in. I just got my Glock 17 back from some gunsmithing work. I took it to Johnny Glock's over in Sarasota, Florida. He put in his complete drop-in trigger kit, along with some springs, some plungers, some modifications going on in there. And we're down to under, you'll see this in the video of I show Johnny installing some springs and telling me what's wrong with my gun. I had some aftermarket parts mixed with some OEM parts. I had some bent springs in there, so it was giving me a rough, a lot of creep. We smoothed that out, and now I'm under a 3-pound trigger in this Glock 17, and I can bring it down lower if I wanted to. So I got a pretty lengthy video of Johnny explaining, but for those of you guys who are into gunsmithing and trigger work, Glock armors and stuff like that, you guys would be really interested to see what he did and why my trigger was rough coming back and what he did to fix it. So I'll have, if you guys are looking to get a 2-pound, 3-pound trigger, nice, smooth, short reset, I'll have Johnny Glock's information down in the description box below. You guys can go check him out and tell him the shooter's mindset sets you, and maybe he'll hook you up. Alright, so there you have it, and we'll roll the video.
So what we have here is a 17, Gen 3 17 that Anthony brought to me today. And I'm just going to take a look at it. This is basically, and this is why I think you're best served by having a gunsmith or a Glocksmith that you can go to that can sort of open your gun up and take a look at it, because there are so many intricacies and different things that could be going wrong, that could cause issues, not issues, but just like not the trigger pull that you really, really want, your perfect trigger pull. I mean, it's your gun, you want the best trigger pull you can have. So as you can see right here, we're going to just start with this, and we're not really worried about poundage today. We're going to look more on the aspect of feel and some other things that that happen within the cycle of a trigger pull. So as you can see, we're coming all the way down here, and we got all this space, and I don't know if you guys can hear this. I'm going to bring it here, but lots of creep with a lot of and it gets to about right there, and as you can see, there's a lot of distance moving, and then still we're on the wall. It's getting ready to break, and there's the press with the break.
So let's open it up and see what's going on. First, I'm looking back here, and immediately I can tell we have a ZevTech striker. It's kind of a telltale striker because of the way the tail looks on it. It's a little bit longer. It's angled a certain way. It's a great striker for what it is. Opening up the gun. And we have a Glock OME highly polished cruciform kick-up on the cruciform sear plate, and you can see there's been a spring change in there. Anthony already told me that he had a lighter spring inside. The striker's firing spring was lightened already, and so that's what we're dealing with here. So I'm going to open this up, and there's a bunch of different compromises that a lot of people don't realize with Glocks, because if you're going to use a lighter firing pin spring, striker spring, and you put that up against a competition 6-pound trigger spring, then you have a little bit of issues when you want to reset. You're not going to get a very snappy reset back into your finger because it's fighting against this spring. So it's a bunch of pluses and minuses and things of that nature, and compromises when it comes to this gun. So, you know, once again, I'm going to reiterate, taking it to someone that works on these things professionally for a living is the best way to go, because they can troubleshoot. And sure, you get a gun up and running, but you're not going to get it up and running to exactly where you might want it to be. Let's see here. See, there's already... Huh. There we go. Also, right there, I can tell that there's an issue going on with the thickness. Something in here is grabbing within the firing pin channel, because as you can see, this doesn't want to drop right down inside there. See how that's going down? Standardly, this thing should want to drop down, and I'm having to monkey with it just a little bit. More than a little bit, as you can see. Now see it's starting to slide down there right now. Now it starts to slide down. So either it needs a new firing pin channel liner, or there's an issue with the spring cups. Or another thing could be that there is too much metal,
but as you can see,
right here that
you do have a line right there on the side of the striker. High quality machining, but sometimes it's not enough. You need to get a little bit of a stone on there, or you hit it with a Dremel or something to smooth it out. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch some things out to get this to feel a little bit what I would feel would be my perfect trigger. And then I'm going to hand it off to Anthony just to see how he likes it. I want to see what's inside of here. I can see this is also a competition spring, but I'm going to replace this with a different competition spring, which I have cut off 2 of the coils. It's still completely within safe means to do that. It's going to seat the striker safety plunger exactly in the same position with the same type of resistance. Thanks, Jack. And typically you can just twist this a little bit and it seats in there really nice like that. I like to come up from underneath. And that way we can have the extractor recapture the pin in there.
But this time we're going to take this Zev striker with the same exact spring and replace it with the Glock OME. Because the trigger that I'm putting in this, which is the Johnny Glock's trigger kit, is Glock OME, but it's got some modifications to control pre-travel and post-travel and reset, and that's what I ultimately want to put in this gun, so we can have a different press, feel, and reset. Now you can see this goes in a little bit better than this one, because it's the Glock OME. It's designed within tolerances to fit this gun a little bit better. I'm going to drop the sear plate, back plate in here. This way I can always keep an eye on what's going on with that plate. I can always see engagements, issues that I might have that I would not be able to see if I have the entire, and most of you gunners out there know that work with Glocks. You can see a lot more with this thing removed right there through that window. I'm going to replace this entire.
First I want to look at it a little bit. As you can see, there's a lot of ripples on this line, which doesn't make for a smooth trigger pull when you're coming down the slide of that safety plunger right along there. I'm hoping you can see that. It's a Lone Wolf 3.5 connector. You can tell that usually because Lone Wolf's the only one doing the thin one here. It's a little bit further pushed out than I like to see. I like to see them a little bit almost like that. It's still going to give you a nice aggressive snap when it resets, but it's not gonna hinder the pull. It being out this far, sometimes on the, they call this the bird's neck. They call them a bunch of different things, but as you can see, this right here, mechanism has to push against here in order to drop the cruciform kick up, so you can drop the lug face off the back of the sear. So when this is out too far, you have a ton of friction in between this face and this face right here, the inside face. So you have this rubbing too harshly against this. Also, another angle is this round right here. You want to make sure that's a nice 90 degree on the inside and it's polished, so it's sloping on the angle that comes down here, and you have a nice clean slide. And like I said, in my estimation, this, oh, and then look here, there is actually a issue with this spring. huh. And maybe that was where that all the creep was coming from, but let me just grab this here. You guys see that? It's actually bent. How that happened, no one knows, but this needs replaced, absolutely. Anytime you see any kind of the slightest little alteration in spring, replace it. That could break within a matter of 2 or 3 shots, or it could last for a very long time. You don't know. However, you want the gun to go bang every time. So as you can see, the space in there, picking that up. Right there, that needs replaced. And also, I would say to replace it with the Battleship Gray, which I am putting in, the Battleship Gray normal Glock spring. Because if you are going against a 4-pound spring and you put a 6-pound spring, there's just too much tension going either way, and you're not going to get the proper reset back into your finger. It's going to be very slow to reset. I've seen people have to wait. And if you're shooting competition, it's like you don't want to have to wait for that trigger to reset. You want it to follow your finger back out. So we're going to drop this Johnny Glock's kit in. And as you can see, what we're doing here is we are putting a set screw in there to control the front bar in sort of a fulcrum style. And in the rear, we have a set screw here to control reset. And where the beak of the striker transfer bar comes against the connector to cause your reset. So we're going to put this in. Put in my first pin. And this spring also looks a little suspect here. See how it's bulging? You almost have like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Caltech Sub 2000 springs in the back, but they're all wonky. This spring right here is kind of, it's either too long for this striker, but you can see there's an issue. If something doesn't look right, it's usually not right. Use your gut. You know what I mean? Like, look at this, because everyone see that? It almost looks like a slinky, like it's bowing. And so, of course, that's going to cause, it might not be the channel liner, it might be the spring within the channel liner that's causing some problems. And then over time, strike after strike, then you're going to have an issue with the channel liner.
If you're not at the level of opening enough of these guns up to know what even to look for, you're not going to look for it because it's just not something you work with every day. So put the gun back together. Make sure there's no bullets in it. Okay. So now you can see we are right on the wall. And I'm going to show you through here if you can see that, or maybe you might want to go to this camera so you can actually see back here the engagement of the kick-up sear on the striker, on the trigger transfer bar against the lug, the face of this striker, which is right here. And you can see the Zebtex too. See how they get there's an angle there. They're just a little bit longer than the Glock stocks, OME. And that's this part right there. So if that tail's longer, it's going to take a little bit longer for the kick up to drop off. I just want to show you that aspect. So now, right now, we're right here against, and I'll try to do it with both angles, we're right here against the prep wall. And so all it's going to take is a little bit of pressure coming in, and we have ignition. Whereas before, and I'm sure if you put those two, if we put both of these trigger sequences side by side, you would see I was probably, that trigger probably started up here prior to having the Johnny Glock's trigger put inside of it. Maybe I took probably about 1/10 of an inch out of it. But right here, you're on your predictable wall. And you can see it's not going to just go off. Press, fire. Now I'm going to check the engagement in the back. Same thing. Glock says you have to have at least 2/3 of that bar up on the striker, which we are well engaged. We have a very good engagement inside there. and it's a nice.
Nice clean break. I'm pretty pleased with this. I am going to do a trigger pull just to see where we are. I can't help myself. Under 3 pounds, without stoning or polishing or anything like that. This is a trigger kit. I just dropped it in. The way I set them before they leave here is pretty much where I would. It's in the middle. It's where I feel most shooters feel confident to have a little bit of prep before they go, as they press out. And also with the reset, it's not reset so hairpin that, you know, I've done them before when I was going through R&D with this, that the quake of the bullet firing off the smash would make it reset. So you didn't have a trigger that was resetting. And let's take a look at the reset, how quick that's coming up. And it's aggressive, and you can hear it. And it is literally snapping right back into my finger. And that is no more than an eighth of an inch. So, just a little video demonstrating the difference in between me sending someone a trigger kit, them putting it in, whether it's from Vanek or ZevTech or anyone, and as opposed to having someone that works on this gun every day putting this in. And I said I could spend another 5 minutes on this gun and easily drop it to 2 pounds with some other changes in here that we do with Johnny Glocks. It all depends on where you are and how confident you are as a shooter, and what your skill level is, or what, not even what your skill level is, what you're used to shooting with. If you've been shooting your whole life with a 3.5 pound trigger and someone turns it to a 2 pound trigger, it's not going to be good. You're going to have to get used to the whole thing over again. It's not, you know, there's going to be a learning curve. So, you know, when you come see your Glocksmith or your gunsmith, they're going to be able to take that gun within reasonable means. And maybe 1 week we'll take it down a 1/2 pound, the next week we'll take it down another 1/2 pound till you get to a nice confident 2 pound trigger, and then you're doing better splits and things of that nature. But it's all such a personal thing with these guns that it just pays to have someone work on them alongside. So, you know, this is just a video, but if I had Anthony would be sitting here, I'd be handing him the gun back and forth. Feel this, that work. Nah, I don't like that. Oh, feel this. Okay, no, a little bit more take up. No, feel this. Back and forth as a dialogue. So that's about it. Once again, this is Johnny of Johnny Glocks. We're a new company here out of Sarasota. We're doing drop-in trigger kits. We're doing Glocksmithing. We have a new branch that's doing slide work, so we'll be able to do some slide. This is not my work, but this is some slide work that our gentleman can do just about the same. I do all the stippling, hand stippling myself. Anything you come down, same thing. You sit down, say, oh, take a little bit off of here. I don't like that hump in the back. Can you move that? I'll work with you. So like us on Facebook, Johnny Glocks LLC, and safe shooting. We'll see you guys. Take care.